watchers at Miller S. Field. I saw him again yesterday, standing across the street from my apartment, just staring up with that same sick smile. 3 years, 3 states away, and he is still following me. But let me tell you how this started, how my best friend vanished, and why I'll never stop looking over my shoulder. His name was Alex, and he disappeared on a Thursday night in June. We were supposed to meet at Miller S. Field, this abandoned baseball diamond behind Jefferson Elementary where my crew hung out. The school had been closed for years, and the field sat right at the edge of the woods. To get there, you had to walk through about 100 yards of dense forest. At night, those woods were pitch black. We had this unspoken rule: never go alone after dark. I broke that rule the night Alex disappeared. He texted around 10:30 saying he was heading there. I left first, figuring I'd have a smoke while I waited. When I pulled up, his red Honda wasn't there yet. I should have waited. Instead, I started down the path alone. The walk felt wrong that night. Branches seemed to reach for me, and I kept hearing sounds that made my heart pound. There was this old floodlight near the bleachers that cast everything in sickly amber glow. Beyond that circle of light, the darkness was absolute. I sat and waited. 10 minutes, 20, 30. I texted Alex 3 times, no response. The silence was getting to me. Miller, this field was never silent, but that night felt muted, like the world was holding its breath. After 40 minutes, I practically ran back to my car. That was the last time anyone saw Alex. By the next evening, his parents filed a missing person report. They found his car 3 days later, abandoned 5 miles away. Keys in the ignition, phone dead. No blood, no signs of struggle. The police dogs tracked his scent to the beginning of the trail, then lost it completely. The cops treated it like a runaway case, but Alex wouldn't leave like that. We'd been best friends since middle school. They told me, after 3 weeks, the official searches stopped. Except for me. The guilt was eating me alive. I started having nightmares. I'd hear Alex calling my name from the woods, but when I shine my light toward his voice, there'd be nothing. Just darkness and the feeling that something was watching me. 6 weeks later, I went back to Miller S. Field alone. Late at night, retracing our road. As I got close, I could see the amber glow through the trees. But there was movement. I crept forward until I could see the bleachers clearly. There were people there. 3 of them sat motionless at weird intervals, not just sitting quietly, frozen like statues. They weren't looking at phones, weren't talking, weren't even fidgeting, just staring straight ahead. Their faces were blank, expressionless. Their chests weren't even moving like they were breathing. Something about that stillness made my skin crawl. But the 4th person, that is what made my blood run cold. He was moving around the bleachers in this jerky, twitchy way that didn't look right. Too sharp, too precise, like a puppet. He spun suddenly, arms extending at unnatural angles, fingers splayed wide. Then he defreeze mid-motion for several seconds, completely still except for his head, which would tilt side to side like he was listening to something only he could hear. Then he skipped forward with these little hops, knees coming up too high. And he was making this sound, this low, tuneless humming that rose and fell in this arrhythmic pattern. It wasn't like humming a forgotten song. It was deliberate, structured in some way my brain couldn't parse. The pitch would drop suddenly, then climb back up in these wavering tones that set every nerve on edge, like the sound fluorescent lights make when they re-dying, but organic, coming from a human throat. Even from 30 feet away, I could see he was smiling. Not a normal smile. This wide, fixed grin that looked painful. His lips were pulled back so far I could see teeth, gums, too much of the inside of his mouth. His eyes were too wide, unblinking even as he spun around. They reflected the amber light in a way that made them look almost metallic. I recognized him. Not clearly, but the way you recognize someone from a dream. I'd seen this man before. I stood there frozen, my legs numb, my breath shallow. My brain was screaming at me to run, but I couldn't move. It was like being in a nightmare where your body won to beat you. He did pause sometimes right in front of one of the sitting figures, and he leaned down, bending at the waist with his back straight, his head tilting at that wrong angle, until his face was inches from theirs. I could see his mouth moving, lips forming words I couldn't hear. But the sitting figures never reacted, never blinked, never moved a single muscle. Then he jerked back up with this sudden motion that made me flinch, and he continued his dance. Sometimes he'd reach out and touch one of them, just a light brush across their shoulder or head. Even though they didn't react, I could feel the violation of it. The wrongness. These people weren't choosing to sit still. They couldn't move. Something had been done to them. That's when the real terror hit me. This wasn't random. This was intentional, a pattern, a ritual. And Alex might have been one of those motionless figures once. Might still be, somewhere. Then the dancing man stopped moving. He was facing away from me. And slowly, so slowly it made my stomach turn, he turned his head toward where I was hiding. Not his body, just his head, rotating like an owl. Yes. Even though I was standing in complete darkness, I knew he was looking directly at me. That broke the spell. I stumbled backward, caught my foot on a root. I kept moving backward, my eyes locked on that figure. He still hadn't moved his body, just stood there with his head twisted toward me, that fixed grin still plastered across his face. When I couldn't see the field anymore, I ran. I crashed through those woods, branches whipping my face. My lungs burned and my throat was raw from sobbing breaths. I could still hear that humming in my head, and I didn't know if it was real or if my brain had just recorded it so deeply that it had become part of me. At my car, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely get the key in. That is when I started crying. Full body sobs, all the guilt I'd been carrying about Alex, all the fear and confusion and anger, it just came pouring out. I was supposed to be there for him. I was supposed to wait. Instead of leaving, I drove around to the back of the school lot. That's where I saw it. A car parked in the far corner, almost hidden. Even in dim light, I recognized it. Honda Civic, early 2000s. Red, the same aftermarket spoiler Alex had installed. My heart stopped. It was Alex's car. But that was impossible. The cops had found his car. It was in impound. As I rolled closer, my headlights swept over it. Same dent in the rear bumper from when he backed into a post. Same stupid bumper sticker. Even the same crack in the taillight. It was definitely his car, which meant either the cops had lied, or there were two of them, or something far worse. The car's headlights suddenly flashed on, high beams directly in my face. I couldn't see anything behind them. For what felt like an eternity, I just sat there, stunned and terrified. Then I slammed into reverse, tires squealing. I didn't look back until I was on the main road. I told my friends about it the next day. They believed me, but what were we supposed to report? Some people in a field? A car that looked like Alex's. I stopped going to Miller's field after that. My friends kept going for a while, but they always come back saying it felt wrong, like they were being watched. Eventually, they stopped too. The nightmares got worse. Now I see those three motionless figures, and when I get close enough, they all have Alex's face. Three identical versions of my best friend, sitting perfectly still, eyes staring at nothing. No matter how much I yell or shake them, they wouldn't respond. But the worst part was the dancing man. In the dreams, he'd stop and look at me, really look at me, and his smile would widen impossibly wide until it split his face. He'd reach out with those wrong-angled fingers and touch my shoulder. And I feel myself going still, my muscles locking up, my thoughts becoming quiet. I feel myself becoming one of them. I wake up gasping, sheets soaked with sweat. Some nights I wake up and find myself sitting perfectly still on the edge of my bed, staring at my wall with no memory of getting up. Those were the nights that scared me most. In late July, I was looking through our old high school yearbook. I was flipping through photos from junior year when I found him. A photo of the gymnasium during a basketball game. In the background, slightly out of focus near the equipment room door, was a man in a maintenance uniform holding a mop. Even out of focus, I recognized that face. It was the dancing man from Miller S. Field. The yearbook fell from my hands. This man had been in our school for years, walking the same hallways, invisible. How many times had Alex and I talked about meeting at Miller S. Field while this man pushed his mop past us, listening? We felt so smart, having our secret spot. But he'd known. Of course, he'd known. How long had he been watching us? I took the yearbook to the police. They ran a background check. 3 days later, they called back. They found employment records for a janitor, listed as Robert Hendricks. But when they tried to verify it, nothing connected. The social security number belonged to someone who died in 1987. The address was an empty lot. No driver, just license. No prior history. The man had worked at our school for at least 4 years. But legally speaking, he didn't exist. I tried my own research, spent hours online, found nothing. This man had deliberately made himself invisible until he wanted to be seen. Near the end of August, me and a few guys went to Miller S. Field one last time. For closure, we thought. We sat on the bleachers, leaving Alex's seat empty. Nobody said much, but I couldn't shake the feeling we were being watched. Every time I glanced toward the woods, I felt eyes on me. The others felt it too. Jesse kept looking over his shoulder. Tom, his leg wouldn't stop bouncing. After 20 minutes, Marcus said, "We should go." That was the last time I went to Miller S. Field. Senior year started. Alex, his empty desk everywhere. College applications. I didn't care where I went as long as it was far away. Then, on a Tuesday morning in September, everything changed. I stopped at a gas station on my way to school. I was standing in line, half asleep. I don't know what made me look up. Some instinct. I lifted my head, and he was there, fourth in line, 10 feet from me, the dancing man, Robert Hendricks, or whatever his real name was, standing perfectly still now, pretending to be normal. He was wearing regular clothes, jeans, gray sweatshirt. That made it worse. He could blend in anywhere. In the harsh lighting, I could see his face clearly. The skin was pale, almost waxy, pulled too tight. His eyes weren't quite the right color, not brown or blue or green, but something in between. Our eyes met. Time seemed to slow down. He smiled at me, not the manic grin from the field, but something subtler, knowing, like he'd been waiting for this moment. I dropped my coffee. He turned and walked out. I ran after him, shoving past customers. He was jogging toward a car idling near the exit, dark blue sedan. I ran as hard as I could. He jumped in and the car started moving. I kept running, trying to see the license plate. That is when I saw it. As the car peeled out, the sun hit the bumper. 3JXK729. Alex, his custom plate. The one he saved up for months to afford. I'd seen it thousands of times. But the car was wrong. Not a red Honda, but a dark blue sedan. They'd taken Alex's plate and mounted it on a completely different vehicle. Why keep his plate unless this was deliberate? A message proving they had him. I called the cops from that parking lot, hands shaking. They took my statement, but they never found the car. It didn't show up on any cameras, wasn't pulled over, just vanished. According to the DMV, Alex's plate was still registered to his Civic in the impound lot. That is when I understood. These people existed outside the normal system. That was 3 years ago. I am in college now, 3 states away. I haven't been back since Christmas freshman year, but I still dream about that amber light. Still see those 3 motionless figures in that dancing man. And yesterday, I saw him again, standing across the street from my apartment. staring up at my window with that same knowing smile. He was there for 30 seconds, then disappeared into the crowd. Do you know what he wants? Do you know why he is following me? But I know he's not done with me yet. And I know that somewhere, maybe in some dark place beyond an amber light, Alex might still be out there. Still sitting motionless, waiting. I'm sorry, Alex. I'm sorry I wasn't there when you needed me. But I am going to find out what happened. I am going to find out who these people are and what they did to you. One day, I'm going to make them answer. I promise you that, brother.